Hey guys, today we are comparing the Sony A6400 with the Sony A7C to find out the key differences and determine which is best for you when shooting video. A lot of what we discuss will apply to all the current Sony APS-C crop cameras listed here, so I'll mention when there is a notable difference, otherwise consider them to be covered by this comparison as well. We are going to get deeper than a sumo sitting on a beanbag, so we have 9 categories to cover, all listed here along with a potential twist at the end. Plus, we have product links and timestamps down in the description. And if you enjoy this video, then like, subscribe, and let me know any thoughts or questions down in the comments. So first, let's cover basic features. The A6400 has a list price of £949 for the body only and £999 with the 16-50 kit lens, though you'll find deals for a lot less if you shop around. The A7C is listed at £1,900 for the body only, up to £2,150 with the 28-60 kit lens. Again, you'll find deals for far less, but you'll still likely be around double the price of the A6400. So, what do you get for that? The big selling point is a much larger sensor. The A6400 has a 24.2 megapixel APS-C crop sensor. The A7C has the same 24.2 megapixels, but a much larger full-frame sensor, which gives more than double the overall sensor size. Both cameras will record in 4K up to 30 frames per second and 1080p up to 120 frames per second, with the full list of resolutions and frame rates on screen now. Core features for video recording are very similar, so I'm going to call this category a draw. However, we will revisit price later because that's very important in how we weigh our conclusions. Next, like Elton John in the 70s, let's consider how cool our lens options are. Both cameras use the Sony E-mount for attaching lenses, as you'd expect, so lens selection must be a tie, right? Wrong, and for the last time, Past Dave, not that kind of tie. Full frame and crop E-mount lenses will work on both cameras, but if you put a full frame lens on the crop body A6400, you'll only get the 1.5 times cropped field of view. For example, a 50mm full frame lens will only give you a 75mm focal length on a crop body. That same lens on the A7C will give you 50mm, or if you use the crop mode, you also get that same 75mm crop focal length. I actually use this feature a lot, and it's a great way of getting more focal lengths from one lens. So while the lens options are the same, the A7C lets you get a little bit more out of them. By the way, most of our test footage today is with the kit lens options for each camera. That's what Sony bundles in for new buyers, so it seemed the fairest approach for comparison. So if you want more lens specifics, then check out these videos. But for now, the A7C takes the win in this category and the point. Next, like me and my new style consultant, we are going to talk about quality of image. So you're saying a face tattoo of Elon Musk licking an onion would really improve my look. Remind me, how much am I paying you? Nothing. That does explain a lot. The test footage you're seeing throughout this video is at 4K 24 frames per second using the HLG picture profile and auto white balance on both cameras, except for slow motion sections, which is at 1080p 120 frames per second. I really don't see a difference in quality. Both cameras look great in good light and both benefit from oversampling in video, achieving a sharper 4K by downsampling from the 6K readout of their 24 megapixel sensors. Low light is a bit different, but we will get to that later. Right now, I am confident you will get great looking results from either camera in normal conditions, so we're calling this category a draw. Now, like my therapist keeps nervously encouraging me, let's focus on stability. The A6400 has no built-in stabilization, meaning that for any moving shots, you'll need to rely on in-lens stabilization, or OSS, as Sony calls it. The quality of OSS varies by lens. The kit lens is fine for simple movements, but kind of craptacular for walking, whereas something like the 18-105 we reviewed recently can give legitimately good stabilization results. So for any unstabilized lenses, you will either need a gimbal or some motion sickness bags for your viewers. I recommend the former. By contrast, the A7C has in-body stabilization, so you're covered with any lens, and for simple movements, it does a solid job. But again, for walking, it's more jerky than you would find in a dried meat museum. Thankfully, the A7C has an extra option. gyroscopic stabilization. This uses spatial data recorded by the camera and Sony's free Catalyst browse software to give really good stabilization results without the need for a gimbal. So in summary, neither camera will blow you away with stabilization as soon as you pick them up, but the A7C still has a clear advantage. In-body steady shot is useful for simple movements. All the lenses with built-in stabilization that you would need for the A6400 will also work and give you stabilization benefits on the A7C, plus you get Catalyst gyro stabilization, which is something I genuinely find really useful. The point for this category goes to the A7C. But what about blur? It's not just a Britpop band or the sound that I make after tasting wheatgrass juice. Blech. It's also important for the beautiful bokeh background blur that our cameras can achieve. Using our kit lenses means a maximum aperture of f3.5 on the A6400 and f4 on the A7C, so the bokeh is not going to be crazy, but that said, there is still a noticeable difference. It's the A7C that gets the advantage, thanks to that much larger full-frame sensor. You can see from these examples with the kit lenses in a vlogging setting that the A7C gives you nicer background blur and separation between subject and background. That's despite being at a narrower aperture than the A6400 kit lens. I did a full explanation recently on how sensor size affects bokeh, which you can check out here. But the short version is that the full-frame A7C will always provide more bokeh than smaller sensor cameras when you have the same equivalent focal length and same aperture setting. The A6400 can give gorgeous results with wider aperture lenses like the Sigma 16mm f1.4, which we reviewed recently. But that same lens will give you the same results on the A7C, thanks to that E-mount compatibility, and you can achieve even more bokeh with the right full-frame lenses. So the A7C takes the win here. The A7C may give better depth of field, but what about depth of feel? You see what I did there? I'll see myself out. But you should probably discuss design and build quality. Both cameras feel high quality and robust with a premium metal and plastic construction along with compact dimensions given their sensor sizes, especially the A7C. The A6400 is a slender 403 grams, with the A7C only slightly heavier at 507 grams, making both easy to vlog with or providing good amounts of headroom for lenses when balancing with gimbals. However, as with many Sony cameras, that compact form factor means you don't get the comfiest ergonomics or deepest grip on either camera. And while there are a decent number of customizable buttons and dials, you would normally find significantly more of these on full-frame models. So the fact the A7C has basically the same amount as the A6400 is a bit more disappointing for our pricier model. Plus, the buttons on the A7C feel a bit spongy and imprecise. They work just fine, but the A6400 has a more clicky feel, which I prefer. But despite all these positives for the A6400, the A7C has the edge in a number of important areas. It has a separate door for the SD card on the side of the camera, rather than in the battery compartment on the bottom, which is where it is for the A6400. This is much better design, especially helpful when the camera is mounted on a tripod or gimbal. We get flip screens on both cameras, but the A6400 one tilts up and then flips over, whereas the A7C screen flips out and fully articulates. Both are handy for when you're shooting yourself or doing low angles, but for high angles, portrait orientation, or anything else really, the A7C design is just better. Plus, the flip-up design of the A6400 means you'll need an accessory to relocate the hot shoe if you want to attach a mic. Otherwise, that mic will obscure the screen. That is dumber than my attempted vegan cooking channel. So this week we have bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches all washed down with a tasty milkshake. Oh, hold on there, folks. Oh, really? No animal products. I may have misunderstood the word vegan, yes. So while the A6400 has some wins here, and I would like a bit more from the A7C given the price, on the design decisions that really make a difference, it's the A7C that has the advantage and takes the point for this category. Autofocus is next, and both cameras have very solid performance in normal circumstances with decent lighting, including doing a good job with subject tracking, weird movements, and obscured faces, like in the terrible interpretive dance-looking mess that you're seeing. However, the A7C has some advantages. It's a bit newer and has a slightly updated autofocus system, including 693 phase detection points covering 93% of its sensor, compared to 425 detection points covering 84% of the A6400 sensor. Additionally, the A7C gives you both face and eye detection in video, while the A6400 is limited to face detection only. Using touch tracking rack focus, those stats do translate into real-world benefits with more consistent and accurate A7C rack focus than the still very decent performance of the A6400. So both can give legit AF results in common circumstances, pun intended, but the A7C has a slight edge and takes the point. But what about in less common circumstances, like low light? Again, our baseline testing for low light was using the kit lens for each camera, and as with bokeh, a max aperture of f3.5 for the A6400 and f4 for the A7C kinda sucks for low light. But it is good for seeing how the cameras cope with higher ISOs and suboptimal conditions. On both fronts, the A7C did better, as you would expect with that larger sensor. Autofocus worked consistently better at lower ISOs for the A7C, including in dark and heavily backlit situations. Video from the A7C preserved more detail and quality at higher ISOs compared to the A6400, which starts getting mushier than the cereal and milk you forgot about an hour ago after about ISO 3200. With wider aperture lenses, like some of those we've reviewed before, you can definitely get better low light results with either camera, but the A7C will still have those inherent advantages and therefore gets the point for this category. Next is audio, and as some of you know, I will never recommend using the built-in camera mic. You'll always get better results with a shotgun, lav, or condenser microphone. But if you really had to, then recording inside in a controlled space with the onboard mics might give you okay results. So just to be thorough, here's a quick comparison for you. Okay, so this is an audio test of the microphones on the A6400, which I will play on its own right now, and the A7C, which I will play on its own right now. Which do you think is better? Let me know in the comments. So, conclusions are easy, right? The score suggests it's more one-sided than one of those democratic elections they held over in Pyongyang. Not so fast, because price is a big deal here. While it might vary a bit with deals and currencies, you're still basically looking at the A7C being double the cost of the A6400. For that price difference, it damn well better win most of our categories. However, in many cases, the differences are noticeable, but not necessarily gigantic. The A6400 is a good camera. Is the A7C a better camera in my opinion? Yes. But is it twice as good? Now that is harder to argue. So the question really becomes, how do you value those differences for your use case? Slightly better design, autofocus and lens flexibility, along with significantly better stabilization, low light and bokeh performance. Are those things worth the jump in price? Your answer to that question will determine how many points you give the A6400 in the price category, because it very clearly wins. What about your use case and your opinions? Let me know any thoughts or questions down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, then like and subscribe while you're at it, because that is it for today. A massive thank you for watching, especially making it all the way to the end of the video. And until next time, take it easy. Use the power of the claw to shoot your video. Ah. It seems unlikely that a camera would sound like that, but then maybe it would.